you mess with the bull, you'll get the horns, right? I think that's what Earl Campbell told the guy on the Heisman Trophy commercial. Anyway, you don't care to hear all that. I am glad you're here tonight. This evening we've entitled it Parents, We Need to Talk. And so understand that as we visit this evening on, I think, a very important subject, that I'm glad that you're here. And I really think and wish that every single parent in our church would have been here tonight. We don't always have Sunday night service. We have a variety of things, and there are many Sunday nights when you have other things, and that's welcome, that's great. But this is one of those nights when I think our conversation could be extremely helpful as we talk about the use of technology. While it can be a wonderful thing, certainly is a challenge in this time that we live in because of the avenues that it creates, not only for good, but it creates for evil. Somebody asked me one time, why don't you have a Facebook? And I said, well, because I don't want people from my past contacting me. And we laughed about it, but there's a certain element of truth to that. I can't tell you. And this evening, as we talk about the use of technology, then, there are just things. And I can't tell you how many people, even the use of the Internet, people that have told me, well, they left their spouse over an Internet relationship. Can you believe that? And it's dumb. It's dumbfounded. It's just unbelievable. It's a crazy thing that's happening, but it's very real. So tonight we've asked someone that I think is very, as a part of our church fellowship, is very astute to what is going on to make a presentation. Ms. Brenda Duhan, Dr. Duhan actually, and who works for our school district, and she's a part of our fellowship here. The mother of Amy Neeb and and Jeremy. They're four beautiful kids that you see running around here. And so she's going to make the formal presentation, and then we're going to have discussion as a staff. I've asked one of our parents to share a word about her experience, just to talk about why, if you think that this won't happen with your child, you're a prime candidate for it to happen. No matter how good you think your child is, and they may be, the technology is utterly overwhelming today. It's not a matter of if they're going to be exposed. It's a matter of when. That's where we are. You say, well, no, that would not happen. Okay. I think you're here because you're concerned. Let me pray for us, and I'll turn things over to Brenda, and she'll present for us some interesting information. Lord, we're asking to have just a frank conversation, to talk about the reality of where we are as Christian homes, what we can do to protect our homes, and how we can be more aware, more even technologically astute, so that as parents we can actually look at what's going on in our homes. We can see the usage of their cell phones, all these things, all the technology that's out there, and that we would capture it for the glory of God, and that we would not allow it to be a millstone tied around the necks of our children that's just utterly destroying them, exposing them to so many things. So help us. We pray for wisdom. We pray for the presentation, that you'll just speak through Brenda, and that we'll all have ears to hear in our conversation together. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you for being here tonight. And I have to say that I'm glad to see parents. But, if you're a grandparent, this is just as valuable to you, because I know I keep my grandkids periodically. And what do they want to do? They want to get on my iPad. They want to get on the computer. And if you think, it's just like what Brother Joe said, if you think that your child is immune to some of the dangers out there, you are sadly mistaken, because it happens to the best of kids, the best of adults. It does. So you just really need to be aware of some of the things. And I hope that I can tonight provide you with some information and some things that you can think about to help your own children in this world of technology. And with my little grandkids, I don't know if you can see that or not, but what do they do when they grab my cell phone or their parent's cell phone? They run, because they know it's going to be taken away from them, for one thing. And then you see them putting it up next to the ear. They're imitating us on the phone. And what is so precious in all of its innocence, when the little 2-year-old grabs it and starts doing his finger like this, not knowing what he's doing, but yet knowing that that's how you get this thing to play music and play games and all of that. So, you ask yourself, well, how early is too early to start talking to my child about being safe online? And the answer is immediately. They're not too young. I say you, but you as a parent, myself as a grandparent, we all have the responsibility to start those conversations with our little ones early, and to talk to them about making good choices and being good users of the technology that they have at their fingertips. And we have to portray our views through our kids and have them understand that this is not negotiable. We expect them to have our ethics or to follow what we believe in our home, whether it be face-to-face with an individual or whether it be online in a social networking format. And that conversation, we have to be patient because that's not going to be a one-time conversation. Okay, let's have the talk and we're done. Everything is good from now on. No, it has to be continual. As a parent, as a grandparent, any opportunity you see or have in your home to talk about being kind or, not doing inappropriate things on the internet, etc. That has to happen all the time because it takes more than once for us to hear it, for it to really sink in for us. When I started doing this years ago, or back in the day when the internet was first coming, into play, and we had computers, and most of them were desktop computers in our home. And it was easy when my kids were younger because the major rule for being a good parent and managing them with technology was to put the computer in a room in your home that everyone had access to. You didn't put it in a bedroom where they had the internet and could go behind closed doors because that was dangerous. So as a parent, a long time ago, it was easy. I had it in the family room, in the living room area, and at any time, and believe me, I was watching all the time. And I had the advantage at the time when computers first started coming out that it was my job as well, so I could kind of go in and check cache and see where, my kids had been and all of that. And, I was the hovering mom who tried to be on my toes and to find anything that I could that would warn me that something was going awry. But, today, I'm glad I'm not a parent. I can say that right now with young ones because it's hard. There are so many things out there now that just putting the computer in a family room is not going to protect your child. If you do have a computer at home, and it should be in a central location, but you know what? How many of your kids today, especially teenagers, how many of them are even on a computer? And I thought about that the other day for myself. I'm just as guilty as the teenagers in the fact that when I'm at home, I'm on my phone or my iPad doing my, checking social networking or doing email or whatever. The only time I actually now sit down at my computer is if I'm having to do some work with Word or Excel or something, and my eyes are too old to see the little print and my fingers are too fat to hit the letters on my little keypad. So, I don't even use it anymore. And the sad thing or the scary thing about that is with our kids, now they have that technology on them and you can't manage them in your family room anymore to see what they could get into. Here's just some interesting information about the internet. And I'm going to lay it out there. There are over 750,000 documented pedophiles online daily attempting to lure children. If that's not scary, I don't know what is. 77% of the targeted age for these pedophiles are going to be for those students or children who are 14 years and older. There's another 22% that are looking for children ages 10 to 13. 75% of children who are approached online never tell their parents about it. There are more than 4 million websites out there that feature sexually exploited children. That is sick. It is sick. It's evil. And most kids' exposure to pornography is going to happen at less than 11 years old. Okay? You know, and if you haven't experienced this yourself, you can we'll talk about Google in a minute, but you can do a Google search for something legit, and no telling what will pop up. It just happens. And and here's how Google works and search engines in general work. Whenever someone creates a website, good or bad, they're going to code it by keywords so that they want to, if you Google something and put in a word like, recipes or whatever the case is, you're going to get a hit on their site. So what sick people do is they will create pornographic or sites like that, and instead of using the keywords that you would think would be there, they're going to put things like Transformers or Barbie, because they know that would be the kind of thing that your young child would be searching for, and that's going to pop up. So, they have all kinds of ways of tricking kids into getting them exposed to this material. When supervising young kiddos, it's pretty easy. Even if it is an iPad or your phone, they're going to stay pretty much with you there, and you can watch them and what they're doing. And with the little ones, it's important that you go to the site, if it's on a computer or on your phone, you go to the site for them and teach them early when they're little that they don't go clicking on other things to get off of the site. If they want to go to another site, then let you know, and you'll get them there. Because once you start clicking, or they start clicking off of a site, that's when something could happen, and they could go to something inappropriate. Choose the websites or the apps that your children play on or visit. And then also, whenever they get a little older and they start doing it on their own as far as that, still check on them. Don't assume that they're following the rules, because they're kids and they may not be. Should your child use Google to search, your young child? Absolutely no. There are lots of great kid-friendly search engines that you should be using in your home. And I've listed a few of them here, from like kidsclick.org to KinderStart, Google, you can read it up there. There's a lot of them that are safe, and that they test the sites before they allow it to be searched on their search engine. So those are just some good things for young kids to use those search engines instead of Google. When they get to ages 8 to 12, the term for them is tweens. They're right before teenagers. They're kind of in-betweeners. But with these kiddos, we're lucky that most of them at that age, they're still reflecting their parents' values. Okay? It's not quite the worry than it is as they get older. Yes. I can provide a copy of my PowerPoint. Yes, I would be glad to email it to you, Brother Joe, and provide that. Yes, and then at the end of it, I do have my sources cited as well, so thank you. Yes. And then it's important for those young ones to set some limits on when they're using it, how long they're using it. For example, with phones these days, a lot of them have phones. We like to be able to get in touch with them. But are they allowed to take it in their room at night when they're asleep? They shouldn't be. I'm sorry. They shouldn't be. Because, I know myself. I wake up sometimes at night, have a lot on my mind, I can't sleep. You know what I do? I grab my silly phone and I start reading the Post and all those kinds of things just because I can't sleep. So if kids have their cell phones in their room at night when they're supposed to be asleep, I can tell you they're going to be out in social media doing whatever they do. So, you have to decide where to set those limits, even with the young ones. There are parental controls that you can use on for your kids' devices. I listed a couple of them, but I have to tell you, be very careful with filtering software or monitoring software, because you know what? Most average middle schoolers can get around it. It's not, if you do it, and it is good, some of them are good, and it will serve a purpose, but the older they get, the more savvy they are, and they learn to get around those things. When I was searching this, I found one called Web Watcher, and it even says that whatever controls that you set on your PC can also work on a phone and a tablet. I thought that sounded pretty good because you know that if most of the products, if you set it on your home computer, it's not going to carry over to your phone and your iPad. So if you're in the market for something like that, just know that if you get it, it's not foolproof. And don't let that be your only avenue of protecting your child is with some kind of a filtering software. Okay? Teenagers, 13 and up. You know, unfortunately, about that age, they stop reflecting the value so much of their home and their parents, and they start reflecting the values of their peers. And then there's so many temptations out there at that age. And, you know, they're trying to get their independence. They don't want to be in the same room with you. They want to be, you know, more time to themselves. They want to be by themselves. And if they have the technology in their hands, which they're going to have, then that's where trouble can occur. So with that, they still need to know, and I'm just going to say it. You may disagree with me, but here's my view on it. I'm paying for the phone, and as long as, you know, my mom used to say that. Not that she had to say it often, but as long as you're in my house, it's, yes, it worked for me. That's right. It worked for me, and that's how it was in my home, and I had no problem saying that because if you're paying the bill, if they're living under your roof, then they need to follow your rules. Whether they like it or not, it's your rule. And, you know, you're doing it out of love and concern and care for them. So there is nothing wrong with checking their phone. And they need to know that you can at any time. You know, that's the way I believe. But it is a privilege. And unfortunately, today, a lot of them think it's a right to have that phone and to have that social media at their fingertips. And it should not be. But they need to know that at any time. You can look at their text messages. Not that they can't delete them. You know, if you have a rule, they're going to figure out a way to get around it. They'll learn to delete them and things like that. But if you do it surprise and all of that, then you'll probably, you know, they'll know that you mean business with that. And, you know, it's sad, but with cyberbullying, and that's something that we stress at school a lot. And we have an internet safety cyberbullying curriculum, and we start at kindergarten with them. But it's so sad that kids, teens, can say something behind or on social media that they wouldn't say face-to-face to someone. And, you know, the old days of the bully on the schoolyard, it was at school. And they got to go home at the end of the day and get away from it. Now they can't because with social media, it's 24/7. And so those kiddos who do bully with the internet or social media, they can never get away with it. And it's so sad whenever you hear stories about children who took their own lives because of cyberbullying. So as a parent and as a grandparent, I beg of you to have that conversation with your children over and over about treating people the way you want to be treated, and that it is not acceptable at any time to hurt someone by their words, even on the internet. And I'm just going to say it now, too. I put up here teens, but, you know, we have to live by example. And I know a lot of adults who are unhappy about something going on, whether it be, you know, in school business, they don't like a rule or they don't like the outcome of a sporting event or whatever. And what do? They hide behind a screen name on an anonymous blog and say ugly things about people and people making decisions. And that is wrong. And I mean, if you're convicted about something, then it needs to be a conviction that you have no problem saying it to the person, but not hide behind a screen name. So all I'm saying is we have to live by example too, and not hide behind and be a cyberbully ourselves, even as an adult, because it does happen. Okay. Mobile phones. That seems to be what most kids have these days with the internet access. And basically, you know, you can check with your provider, and the instructions on the phone. There's some things you can do to turn some settings off, like messaging and downloading and all of that. But that would be something with your provider, and that may work with younger kiddos, but teenagers, tweeners, they want the internet part of it. So that's not foolproof either. But for your younger ones, you can probably do that. They even make, I understand, cell phones for young children where it has an emergency feature so you can always contact them, but they're limited on their access. So if you have a young child, maybe that's something you would want to look at instead of a full-blown cell phone with all the internet access on there. Social mapping. This is something that you really should be aware of because, most phones now are equipped with GPS where they can pinpoint where their friends are and friends can pinpoint them with the GPS system. And you know that when they take pictures, that behind the scenes in where that picture was taken, it tells everything about where they were when they took the picture. So, if they're posting pictures that they've taken and a person knows how to look it up, they can find exactly where they are. Where if they're taking pictures at a game or a practice or whatever, there's ways to find out where that picture was taken. So you just need to be aware of those things and look at your settings and decide if that is something that you would want your kids to be or to have being posted with the things that they're posting. Once again, cyberbullying, I can't stress that enough. And you can hope that and pray that they won't do that to someone else because it does hurt. With social networking, most of us think of, I'll say me, I think of Facebook when I think of social networking. But, bottom line is kids have gotten away from Facebook. You know why? Because their parents are on it. Yeah. And, it's like I said earlier, they're going to find a way around things. And it's just like when you become savvy with what they're doing, then they're going to find another way of expressing themselves or whatever. So Facebook now, it's kind of not as popular. And Facebook used to be, honestly, pretty easy to track what kids were doing with Facebook. But now, what's the one you mentioned earlier? Snap. Okay, and then Snapchat. Instagram, big right now. We'll talk about that in a moment. Kick, Tumblr, Twitter, they all tweet. Those are the ways that they're communicating now, not through Facebook. And it gets a little harder and harder to see what they're doing in some of these other social networking venues. But something that you need to stress with your child is a good rule of thumb, is that there are consequences for their actions. As innocent as they may think it is to post pictures and conversations that I'm a kid, I'm in school, I'm having fun, what's the harm in it? There is a lot of harm in it. And they should not, you should stress to them, they shouldn't be posting anything that they're not comfortable with everybody and anybody seeing. And if there's any doubt that if their grandmother or their mother or somebody saw it and they would be disappointed or upset, then it shouldn't be posted at all. Did you know that? And I know you've probably heard this with employers, but colleges and universities, scholarships can be denied because of their social networking sites. Because, it's real easy to put the right words on paper and to have a resume and an application that looks wonderful. But they've learned that is just words on a page. And they have people that their job is to search the social networking sites to see the person behind the piece of paper and to see if the kind of student or athlete or employee that they're looking for, how do they live their life on a daily basis. And a lot of jobs have been denied or not given, and a lot of scholarships not awarded because of that. And your kids need to know that yes, your actions today, while it seems like you're just a carefree kiddo and having fun, it can have severe repercussions down the line. Do you know that a university, police as well, can request a complete transcript of a Facebook account, and Facebook will provide it to them? They print it out and send it to them in a stack. Yeah, they can. So, once they post it, remind your child. Once they post something, they can delete it, but is it really gone? No, it's not. There could be, you can do a search for a page that has been deleted, and it'll still show up on a search under cache. It'll still be there. They have no control if someone took a screenshot of it themselves. So it's scary that they may think it's all in fun and nothing to it, but there really are some consequences to that. They should never, and this should be in your conversation, never ever impersonate another person online. Don't pretend to be someone else and post or say something or put a picture saying that there's someone else and trying to hurt someone. But unfortunately, there's a lot of that goes on. There's a lot of, with pictures that are manipulated, that get put on and posted to hurt someone. But those are the kinds of things that should be talked about with your child, that's not acceptable behavior there. Another thing is a child's profile. You really need to go onto the sites that your kids are using for social media and look and see what their privacy settings are. Is it set so that anybody in the world, those 750,000 pedophiles, could look at your child's information or chat with them? No. They should only be communicating with people they know. And that would be something that you as a parent can do to tighten that so that not everyone can just strike up a conversation with your child. In Facebook, and of course, you could go through every one of them and show where they are, but if you just look for the settings in Facebook, it's in the little gear in the upper right-hand corner, and when you pull it down, it says privacy settings. And then you can go in and see, set who can see my stuff, who can contact me, who can look at or look me up. All of those things you can restrict to friends only. And another thing, too, the only people that should be their friends in any social networking context should be people they know, not people they don't know, because you don't really know who they are behind the screen name. Can we play the video? Make sure the sound is loud.
Sometimes I go on my daddy's computer when he's not around. That's where I met my friend Alice. Say hi, Alice. Come on. Say hi. She's a little shy. Alice is 10, just like me, and loves to go horseback riding. Don't you, Alice? And she has a horse at home. What's its name again, Alice?
Sugar Plum.
Sugar Plum, that's right. And we're going to go to her house and feed him and pat him and ride him. Aren't we, Alice?
Mm-hmm. And you don't mind if my friends Katie and Chelsea come with, too, do you?
No. Sounds like fun.
You know, it doesn't matter if they're 7 or 17. When you think about who can be behind a screen name and what they're saying or who they're saying they are, there is no guarantee that it's Katie or whatever. You just don't know, okay? And just be mindful always of that number, 750,000, that are looking for children that they can get. Okay, oh dear. Help. Yay. Limit what you share. You know, and this seems easy because we talk about it forever. We don't give out our name, or we tell our kids, you don't give out your name, your address, your phone number, and all that. But kids don't realize it, and, you know, they give other information out that tells just as much about them as their name and their phone number when they talk about the team they're playing on or the times they practice and what number they are. I mean, all of those kinds of things. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to start figuring out, oh, I know this one's on this team, and go and watch when practices are and all of that. So, but those are things that, beyond the obvious of the name and phone number, that you tell your children not to put information out there about. Another one, never, ever give your password to somebody else. Tell them, never give your password to your best friend. Because you know what? Real life, they may not be their best friend tomorrow. And there are some mean, hateful children who do things to hurt others. And especially if they're no longer best friends, and if they know their password, they can do all kinds of things in their name on their account. And it's so never. That should be a huge rule in your home. You never give your password to anyone. Talking about screen names, just a few little things. on their social sites, a screen name should never identify the child. It should never have their birthday, of course, their name in it, their email address. It should be so that if anybody picked up or saw that screen name, they would have no idea who in the world it should be. And if your child's screen names give anything out about them, about who they really are, then it really should be changed. Do not allow that at all. Another thing, some other suggestions, I've mentioned it earlier, you have a right to review your child's friends online, their list. And if it's someone that's not their friend, they need to be taken off immediately. Because who are they? Do you really know? Hopefully you can build a relationship with your child that if in their gut they feel uncomfortable about anything online, they can tell you about it. Because they need to. Because if they really feel uneasy, chances are there's something going on there, and you can protect them if you know that. You can't. If it's 75% of them don't tell a parent, then there's no protecting them. They're on their own for that. A few other things about social networking sites. You really should be familiar with your kids and what they're doing, what sites they're going to. It's not uncommon for kids to have two screen names, one for the parent and their real one with their friends. That was very popular for a while on Facebook. Now that Instagram has come, we had last year a gentleman called Keith Dunn. He's a Katie cop. He's on the Internet Federal Task Force, and he came and spoke to all our middle schoolers and our high schoolers last year about it. And he said, I called him this before I went on my trip after Brother Joe asked me to do this, just to see if there was anything new going on, because it had been a year. And he told me now that with Instagram, that it's its own underground language with hashtags, and that it has become a secret society. And you know what a hashtag is? I think I put, it's the little pound signs. And you know, even commercials now, they talk about hashtag this, hashtag that. Well, what it is they when they have a picture on Instagram, then they'll do a hashtag with little code words for it. And, you know, a lot of times they're fun, like, you know, PNG Indians or food or twins, whatever it is, okay? But it has become its own private secret language with hashtags that have a code. Big in drug dealers today, they use Instagram with hashtags for selling stuff. And, you know, it may be hashtag snowflake, I don't know. But the point is, it's something totally innocent that you would think it is. And he said that what's happening is that kids use that as their secret language with the hashtags, and once someone's onto them, a parent, whatever, all they have to do is change their hashtag to something else. And then that becomes their secret society of words, whatever. So he said there's a lot of drug dealing going on. Oh, I think I mentioned that. Another thing, too, let's see. He said there's a lot of sexting going on with Instagram and hashtags right now. When the old of us, we think sexting is just with a cell phone and sending texts that are inappropriate. No, it's very prevalent now in the Instagram world. And then unfortunately, it is very difficult for law enforcement and for universities to follow Instagram as opposed to Facebook. And they know it, and that's why it's become more popular with some of them. I would suggest on whatever sites your kids are using, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, go on, do some searches. Do hashtag PNG, hashtag Indian, hashtag ballet, dance, whatever their hobbies are, because those are the kinds of things they're going to hashtag it or call it. And just look around and see what comes up. You might find some pictures that they posted that aren't under their name, you know. So, and it's surprising. If you look at Instagram names, I've paid attention to this lately. You know, in Facebook, it's usually their name, but in Instagram, it's not. It's completely different. They're not using their name as much because they want to be more anonymous, and that's a way of doing that. So go in and search what your kids are doing. Look at their settings. Have those conversations with them. Because when they are approached, and they will be, then hopefully they'll feel comfortable enough because it's not a new subject in your home, and they know what you expect, and those things are, you can protect them better. That's it. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say that sexting, Snapchat is much bigger.
Snapchat. That's the one that's only there for like so many seconds and then it disappears, isn't it? Yeah, Snapchat. And
where do you do Snapchat at? From a computer, from a phone?
It's an app. All of these are apps. Well, I think you can still go to this. I don't know how it works on a computer as far as you can go to their site. I don't know. Apple. So it's not on any other tablet?
It might have other
Variations of it.
Like a regular home computer? You'd have to if you have the basic cell phone that calls.
You're good.
And a home
You're good.
computer, that's it.
Yeah.
For now.
Do what? Go ahead. What were you saying, though? With a hashtag. Well, they're more. You know, hashtags are in Instagram. It's.
And they're also, you can use them on Facebook. You can search for things from a hashtag. If you want to put like hashtag Beaumont in Instagram while you're searching for it, anything that was hashtag Beaumont would come up.
That's right.
So if they had recommendations for things, you can do that on Facebook, you can do that on Twitter, you can do that on Instagram.
It's becoming more and more universal. The hashtag is.
And so the hashtag is how you would search for, like, you can't just put, like in Google, where you can put a specific idea in.
We're not capturing some of this on audio, and I want to make sure we get this on video and audio because all of our parents need to hear this. So some of y'all aren't catching this. So would you talk about the hashtag thing? Sure. I don't think that I fully understand it.
Okay. So when you search for something on Google and you put into I think most of us are familiar with Google. And so you might put restaurants in Beaumont, enter. And it's going to pop up with some restaurants or whatever you're looking for. Well, you can't do something like that on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can put a hashtag. So you're going to put your little hashtag mark and then whatever you want it and whatever is exactly what that hashtag. Like right now, if you put in PNG Indians or MCM, which would be Mid-County Madness, something like that, and they abbreviate everything. And so you have to know your abbreviations that you're looking for. But you can put that in on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and everything hashtagged under that is going to be on there. Every post they put on can have as many hashtags as they want. Twitter has a specific number of characters. You can only use 160 characters on Twitter. That's it. Instagram is not limited to that. Instagram, they can put as many hashtags so that as many different things that can pop up as they want to on that.
And that's a good way of researching something is when you go and find something, for example, PNG Indians or something like that, and you start looking at all the hashtags, you see variations of it. Oh, let me try this one. And then you search for that hashtag, and it can lead you further and further because they come up with their own hashtag.
That's it. And so you can do that.
To like his site because he
Good.
posted it.
Right. Or you may put in PNG Indians. And so you click on some pictures and you see hashtag O-line, which would be the offensive line, which is what they all call themselves. So you might click on that. It'll send you to a list and then a section of the pictures that are all on that. When you click on that, you're going to get more hashtags. And so it's very much, I don't know if like y'all YouTube and where you kind of get on YouTube and you watch one video and then it suggests another video and then an hour and a half later you're like, why am I watching cats? They're adorable, but I don't need to do this. It can be exactly like that. And so you may just stumble onto things and you may even find pictures of your kids that you didn't know they were actually in. They were just at an event and in the background of. So.
Let me say something. You can stay here too, and yeah, right. No, I want us, and I want Brenda to stay here too. That was just outstanding, the presentation. Amen. And I want you to be able to ask some more questions in a moment. We certainly want to have a very open conversation. But as I understand the whole hashtag exposure there is that anybody can post. I mean, even if you're at Mid-County Madness, and that's what they're posting, hashtag MCM. It doesn't stand for Melchizedek, by the way. Somebody could post the most inappropriate thing on there. So as you're going through it, it's like, oh, no. So that's the point. It's a deep, dark hole, and they can get stuck there. And the exposures are really great here. I'm going to give you a chance to ask some more questions in a moment. Presentation, I think we all need a copy of that, and boy, it's so valuable. But I want you to hear from one of our parents about just a part of her journey. And Stacy, if you would come and share an idea that were we able to print that? Okay, so in a moment when we can hand that out, Stacy, and then. But why don't you share a little bit of your story and this contract with her kids that she's initiating?
I'm Stacy, and I have 5 boys. And in the past few years, I've come to understand that there's a lot of things that face my boys that I thought I have taken every measure as a parent to prevent. I'm a homeschool mom. I've homeschooled my children from early on, from the very beginning, and we have always been engrossed in the church environment and all of our friends. I mean, a few years back, I was challenged to think of people that we hung out with regularly or were around regularly that weren't saved, and I couldn't even come up with anybody because we're always around the church community. We lived in community with other believers constantly. And in raising 5 boys, I have felt very convicted from my own upbringing on how important it was to transfer the value of respecting women and how to treat and show respect for women and ladies and everything like that, and to pass that on to raise some godly men, because I think we can all agree that this world could use a few more godly men. And so I've got 5 boys, and I'm like, Lord, this is a big challenge right here, but I want to raise 5 godly men that will lead their families well and will be great men of God in this world. And I feel like I had taken every measure to keep their hearts and their minds pure. And a few years back, I had one of my sons get up in the middle of we had put them to bed, and they had come to our room and said, I need to talk to you about something. I cannot go to sleep. God will not let me sleep until I tell you this. And we're like, oh, okay. And they shared that they had been on our laptop and did a simple, innocent search, and some inappropriate pictures popped up. And those images were in his mind. And there's no deleting them. There's no getting away from it. And I was just like stunned that, oh my goodness, because he came to us, I was so responsible, and I thought, okay, he's a good kid, and he came to us, and this is exactly what this is the parenting style we have been fostering. Open communication. You mess up, that's okay. We're here to pick you up, and we're going to just try again, okay? And so here was, a situation that there was open communication about this stumbling. Well, the problem is that I don't know if you realize that pornography addiction is more powerful than a heroin addiction. And I don't know if you know the history about a heroin addiction, but it is the hardest thing to come clean from. Okay, sorry. Our kids have pornography in their face 24/7. 24/7, y'all. Through their peers. It doesn't matter. It's like you said earlier. It's not a question of if your children are going to be subject to seeing images that you do not want them to see. It's a matter of when, and it grips you. It's a gripping addiction. For the male, I mean, it's getting just as prevalent for females, but for boys, for men, it's even more so because of how God created us. It's not a bad thing, but it is something that is going to grip guys more than it is girls. However, it's on the rise. What I have come to see is that through KIK, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, if you are not in your kid's business, you are foolish as a parent. I hate to just say it that way because saying fool is something that we are told not to say in the word. But we are foolish if we are not in their business. And what I am guilty of is that because I've felt like I've had such an open communication with and parenting style with my children that they would just bring anything to me, and they do bring almost everything to me. But I have seen that there's some things that they haven't, and I have gotten to want to be more of their friend than their parent at times as they have gotten older. And y'all, it's not our job to be their friend right now. It is our job to protect their hearts and mind because Satan is out there and he is looking to steal, kill, and destroy. It's not steal, kill, or destroy. It's steal, kill, and destroy. And we are putting things in our kids' hands through cell phones, through just them wanting to be a part of the rest of the crowds, and we're just hoping they make the right decisions because we are doing good and plugging into all this, biblical character and values and stuff. We've poured our lives into them, and so we think that they're going to make good choices. Did we make good choices? No. We didn't. We learned from our mistakes. Our kids are going to make these mistakes. They're going to get involved in a lot of these things. And so what we have to do as parents is we can't just assume that we've done a good enough job by even laying it all out there and saying, having these conversations with them about what's right, what's wrong, how you need to guard yourself and protect yourself. And that's not enough. We have got to become more engaged in the lives of our children. I can remember as a kid when we would have friends and stuff over, and so my parents could walk by our room and hear what's going on, conversations we were having, or see us playing and doing things, and they can be observant of what's going on. And how many of you can see exactly what is going on when your kids are sitting in the living room doing this number? It's silent. You have no eyes on what they're doing. It's not a monitoring tool that we can use that way. We need to know all their passwords and their user and everything that they have on their phones or on the computer that they access, you should have access to go on and look at any given time. Something that I have decided to do because of some issues of me being a foolish parent is set up a technology covenant with my children, because here's the thing. I have 5 boys. Some of these things that they are being faced with now, they're going to be faced with for the rest of their life as grown men. I mean, there's a lot of men in this congregation sitting here right here, and I can bet that 95 to 100% of you struggle with the same things that they're going to be struggling with, that they are struggling with right now. It just is, the world and society that we're living in is very sensual, very sexual. All the pictures and stuff that are out there, and they're exposed to it. Sadly, daughters are sending pictures of themselves to boys that just say, "Hey, you want to send me a picture?" And they're taking these seductive pictures of themselves. And we think, "Oh, it's so cute. My daughter, doesn't she look so cute in this picture?" And, for a young boy, it's not so cute. He's not looking at the same thing you're looking at or looking at it the same way you're looking at it. And it's just one more step. They're stepping more and more through taking more provocative, seductive pictures of themselves and sending them out. So something that we need to, I have felt convicted to do is to establish a covenant contract with my children and lining out what I expect from them and how I'm going to handle their usage of any technology, any device, whether it be an iPod, an iPhone, a tablet, a computer, whatever. There has to be accountability that begins now. We have to teach them. We can't just strip all these things away from them and say, okay, they're safe. They've got just a flip phone. They can only text. Yes, we can do that, but here's the reality. Technology ain't going backwards. It's going forward. So we either teach them how to be responsible with it and accountable to others for the temptations that are out there, or we just say, we just hope and pray for the best. We're just going to let you see how you ride here. And so some things, can I get that sheet of paper for a second? I'm just going to briefly touch base on some of these. This is just a guideline, an idea. I had a coworker that helped brainstorm and help me with some of these things. And I think we miss the boat sometimes we think that if we just tell our children the right things and we come to church and we do all the right things, that it's going to impact them enough that everything's going to be okay. But we have got to reach their heart and the heart of the issue. And the issue is not just withholding this stuff or preventing all these things, but for their hearts to desire to love God more than anything and to keep their hearts and mind pure. And there's actions. God's Word is full of the things that we need to flee from and be away from. There's actions that they need to choose to step in, because we're not going to be there forever. But we can teach them how to be responsible and accountable to others. I think it's going to be a key thing, the accountability, even more so as our society keeps going the way it's going. The accountability that's necessary with future spouses, with friends, things like that, so that, you have someone to answer to, even after they're out of our homes. Because we're all going to stand before the Lord one day, so they need to get the full reality of that. This is just some things. My kids are not they're not allowed to put any apps on their phones or any of their Apple devices. We're an Apple family, so they're not going to have any apps without approval from me. Well, guess what? I let my kids put some things on their phones beforehand, or their iPod, and Snapchat I thought was just a fun little thing. No big deal, right? Well, Snapchat is you get to take a picture and send it to someone, and it only is viewable for like 5 seconds, and then it's deleted. Wonder why that app was created. Why? Pictures are supposed to be about memories, right? It's deleted in 5 seconds. That is just, kids are sending some very, very bad pictures to each other, knowing that it's not going to be able to be saved. So there's that fear of, if I send this and they have it, then they might show someone else. They don't have that fear. And our kids are just so hungry and starved for acceptance and attention.
Snapchat now, one, you can't send videos, and the pictures are for 1 to 10 seconds, and people can screenshot too. But if you send it and somebody screenshots it, it tells you that it's screenshotted.
Yeah.
You can also do a voicemail that's viewable for 24 hours. And there was also recently a Snapchat article that those are now saved on a server for 30 days. And there are 10 instances where they have been subpoenaed for court cases, and they pull them off of the server. And so that's another thing. Kids don't fully understand technology, and that is not truly disposable.
Right.
It's not.
It is not disposable. Once it's out there, it is out there, and there's no telling how many hands can get to it. And so they don't realize that. They have no idea of that. Your kids don't need to be deleting web history. That's something you should only be doing. If you see that, if you're checking up on your child and they're deleting web history, you might want to find out why they're deleting it. There's a reason behind it. They shouldn't be deleting texts. I get itemized billing, and I am nosy enough that my kids know I will go through every single thing. And if I see that there is a text missing, even though there's 5,000 for a teenage child, it's worth putting out there and letting them test you one time for you to prove you mean business, because they're not going to try it again. There has to be consequences for when they fail at the agreements that you have. But if you don't put the agreements out there or the expectations, then it's basically just, you know how it is in parenting. I told you this. Well, it went in one ear and out the other. And so then you play this, well, did I really make myself clear enough? And so if you sit down and really have a family meeting about what you would like to see your family do and the accountability that you need to have, and you come up with agreements, I strongly encourage you, put it in some sort of writing. Put it down for them to go back to. We have a notebook, and if they want to download something, they have to write it down, and then at my convenience, I will approve or not. Our kids are about instant gratification all the time. Well, guess what? This is going to help them learn a little bit of delayed gratification as well, because it's like, as soon as a friend says, oh, have you done this latest game or whatever, they're wanting to download it right then and there. Well, I need to look at it. I need to look at what it is. There's a new thing called Ask. An Ask app and you can ask a question and people can answer you totally anonymous. You talk about cyberbullying, there's a lot of mean things being said because there's nobody attached to the answer. I think key thing for us as parents is we have got to stay in the know. I asked my son, my oldest son, I said, what are you seeing out there that parents are oblivious to? And the main thing that he has said, he's like, for one, parents do not have any idea what's going on at these parties that people are talking about going to. That's one. He's never gone to a party, but based on what he's heard, he's like, I don't ever want to go because I can't believe what occurs. So if you're sending your kids to parties, you really need to be aware about what's going on there. Secondly, he said that just a lot of it is about the images, the photos that are being sent between kids. And there are apps that you can hide. It looks like a calculator. You can hide bad pictures in. All these Instagram, Twitters, KIK, all these media forums, social medias that they go through, there are pornographic. They can select friends from anyone, and they're half-dressed, naked women all over the place, and guys. I mean, you've got to be on it, and they can just view it and not even be their friend, or not even have the connection. But it's all over there, so you've got to be in the know, be careful, and just stay on top of being involved in what they're involved in. It's mind-boggling to me because I felt like I had equipped my children to make the right choices. And I have, as best as I could, I have. But the fact is, we are still encased in this flesh, and the desires of the flesh are still prevalent. They are still going to be tempted, and more so, I feel like, than we were. It's just getting worse and worse. It's easier. And so we need to, this is hopefully something that you can use as a guideline, adapt to your own family needs. But I feel a strong conviction that that we are not in the know enough as parents. We can look out, and this is what I've heard from school teachers. I had a lot of school teacher friends, and they said it is the good kids that shock the pants off you. It's the kids that you have no problems with that you find so engrossed in some of the worst things. And so our kids are faced with a lot. good kid or no good kid, they are faced with it. And so let's be their guardians as much as we can. Their hearts and minds, keep them pure. Marriages, families are being destroyed from pornography right and left. I don't know about you, but I don't want my kids to have to face that pain and those issues. And so if we can stop this problem now, because we see that it's facing them now, we can stop it early on or be more involved, then hopefully it will not be a gripping addiction that they have to live with for the rest of their life. So, thanks.
You know, as Stacy is speaking, and really not long ago as we were visiting, a part of the catalyst for this night came out of our conversation. You know, I know that as parents that we're challenged, and there's certainly a great deal more that she could share. I appreciate this covenant, this technology covenant, the time you've taken. It would be helpful as you formulate something in your own home, that you would formulate that around the uniqueness of your home. But this is a good place really to start. You might include Job 33:1, which says, you know, Job said, "I've made a covenant with my eyes." Covenant Eyes, by the way, is a wonderful website. Now, the value of Covenant Eyes is that it's not necessarily a filter, but what it does, because I think we have to all acknowledge we're living in a world of technology. So the exposure to this is going to happen. The question is, how do we handle this? And so what Covenant Eyes allows you to do is it enforces an accountability system where somebody outside yourself or even a parent is someone who's going to look at everything that you looked at. And that's where the accountability is. You say, well, it's not a filter, so it's no good. Well, no, it is good, because what it does is it gives a friend or someone that you trust the ability to call you out and say, I noticed that you were on this site. That's the purpose of it. So it emails someone where you've been. And the accountability, I think, it's important to bring light into the darkness. You say, well, it doesn't get the job done. I'm telling you, where there's light, it penetrates the darkness. And most of the things that we're talking about are things that are done in secret. And it's in the darkness where this occurs. The darkness is what helps to create the problem. And the problem is furthered by the shame that one experiences, particularly when it comes to sexual sins. And when it comes to this type of entrapment that is going on, you say, well, that's just not going to, it just won't happen. It's happening. And I'm reminded of what Colossians talks about. Men, you remember maybe a couple years ago when we had a men's night, and I talked to you about this. Maybe you don't remember. But one of the things that strikes me about the whole notion of willpower is that we are very much a humanistic society in which we say we will beat this, it won't conquer us, that's not going to happen. Well, like you heard Stacy said, the sexual addictions that are occurring today in our society are greater than drug abuse addictions. Because what's happening is that the desires the proper desires within the confounds of a marriage are being awakened at a very young age. And they don't know what to do with it other than to act on it. This is what's happening with our kids, your grandkids. And so if they're exposed to something, all of a sudden something's awakened in them. A stimulant has been provided, improper as it may be, outside the bounds of God's Word, but it happened. And now that stimulant has been provided, then there's a tendency to act on that. And so the temptations are enormous. And so we can stand here and we can stand in the face of a tsunami and say, come on, you're not going to wipe me out. I mean, you can stand there until the moment it hits you. And when it hits you, that's it. You can stand there. I mean, for all those people who stood here in the hurricane and said, I'm not going to leave. Ask the people over in Bridge City who chose not to leave. A lot of people after that said, the next time they say hurricanes come, I'm leaving. They didn't heed the warning, and then they were overwhelmed. We have experience with these things naturally, so I think we understand it and can spiritually. Now, I know that as we talk about, and in a moment we're going to pray for our children, you say, well, now, what do I do when my child now is encapsulated in this? What do I do? And one of the things that we have provided for the teenagers is a book, and I want Johnny to say a word about this. It's a book that we began giving to the students the last few years. But you want to say a word about that? And we'll make these available if you're working with your child through something. This is the reality where we are. Say something about this.
I have a few things just to say because I have kind of a different angle because I deal with students, and I grew up in this age. I grew up through this technology and being able to have an iPod Touch in my hands that connects to the internet. This book it's called Sexual Detox: A Guide for Guys Who Are Sick of Porn. I've given it over the summer. I gave it to at least 5 different guys, and what it is, I've read it. It's pretty intense, but it's intense because I think that we don't like to talk about sex and porn and all that kind of stuff. It's a touchy subject, so when a student reads it, it's straightforward out of the Bible. This is what sex is supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to be a marriage. Like, it's straightforward. It's for guys, and for the most part, because he talks about being a spiritual leader and how you're supposed to lead your wife and different things like that. And it's a great resource, and it's a way to get into the mind of someone who was trapped in porn, who made his way out and was able to write a book about it. A few things that I also wanted to mention about kind of the mindset of these students and teenagers is that there's a few things with these apps. One, Twitter in particular, I've had more than one person or student say that that's how they access porn, because there's no trace that they've been to that website. That's what it says, Twitter. And they will get on their phones, they'll get on whatever, on the Twitter app, and they can go to anybody's profile, which most of the time it's just a random person that has made a Twitter just to post porn on, and they will go to that. I've had students confess that to me. I've also had, when Instagram was first coming out and I had no idea what it was, I was still a teenager, and a guy came up to me who I went to church with, and he said, "Dude, you need to get an Instagram." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because there's a lot of hot girls on there who will post pictures in bikinis and stuff." And I was like, I don't ever want an Instagram. I hate it. And I have one now, but I used to just post silly stuff on it, and I don't get on it. I don't check it. I don't do any of that. But that's another thing. And then Snapchat, there's a thing called having a Snapchat game. And that game is Snapchatting girls and having that flirting game and getting them to send pictures that they're not supposed to and trying to get with them. And so this is the mentality that these high schoolers have. And even if these high schoolers that have that mentality aren't Christians, that's the norm. And when a Christian student sees that or a guy hears that, they feel like they're supposed to have a Snapchat game. So I just wanted to kind of give a little insight to how our teenagers are thinking. And having gone through this, she said as they get older, they get more savvy in technology, and they can do kinds of things. I was part of that. I did that. I figured out, my mom worked with technology, and I figured out how to outsmart my mom. So you have to be a step ahead, because my mom didn't expect it. She didn't expect me to do that. I was a good kid. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of that.
The book can be helpful if you're working with your child. Maybe as parents, you take a look at this, and because once these things are awakened, what do you do now? Now the exposure is not just with your oldest children. If you have a challenge here, this is now the propensity is for this to fall to the minds and the eyes of all the family. Okay, and let's face it. Can we be honest about this, adults? There are problems here because we ourselves have committed offenses toward God. Okay? And let's be honest. We need to repent. We need to ask God to forgive us. We need to take back control of our homes. We need to make the emphasis on positive behavior, not just saying don't do that. I mentioned this a few weeks ago in the message. I don't believe that's the strongest motivation for overcoming a problem, addiction, a behavior, is simply saying stop that. Okay, that works for a little while. You can shame them a little while. You can do that. But the greatest way to see our students, our children, our grandchildren move forward is to lead them to a vibrant, not this little watered-down version of Christianity that we're putting in front of them. Okay? I'm being honest. Because if we water it down and that's what they get, what they're going to produce is less than the watered-down version we convey to them. Now, I realize that even in a strong Christian home, that the exposures that this can be difficult. I understand that. But I'm just telling what can we do in a positive sense? Encourage your children. Your teenagers, every one of them on Sunday morning ought to have a Bible in their hand. I mean, it's just unconscionable that you come and listen and worship a God that you're not even verifying what this pastor's saying is true. Why is it true? On what basis is it true? Because he says it is? He's been talking a long time. I don't know anything what he's talking about. Something about Melchizedek, I tuned him out a long time ago. But you get him in the Word of God, that's a positive behavior. It's encouraging and nurturing a positive thing. And I realize we could spend a lot of time here tonight. There are spiritual dimensions to where we are today. We could decry what's happening in our culture. Brenda has conveyed to us just the absolute moral tsunami that we are facing in our country, and on a political front and other fronts where we can vote people in and out and do away with this idea that freedom of speech allows people to say the most ungodly and horrific things in a country. That's so far away from what our founders thought. That's so against what our country was even founded on. There are ways that we can deal with that on a political level. Make sure I know that's probably another conversation. But what we can do tonight is commit our hearts as parents to regain our homes, and to do so aggressively, and to do so in a way that may require that we remove these technologies until the maturity of our children matches the ability to handle the technology. We would not put a gun in the hands of a 5 or 6 year old or little elementaries. We just wouldn't do it, would we? I mean, if you're at the gun range, you might be teaching them some gun safety things, but you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't put them in a room with all kinds. But it seems like with technology, we've sort of lost our mind, because if we don't stay in touch with it, we feel like we're depriving our kids. Well, we're really not, and we're really not. You may have a few more questions we can take. I'm so grateful for Brenda, and this is a conversation that ought to be had in every home and every church. Might be why God even led you to create this now, but there are churches like ours that could benefit by this conversation. Certainly this public school can, and we're grateful that we have someone in public schools that would even present something like this. Amen? Isn't that good? And do you have any questions, any further? Because there may have been something you wanted to ask Brenda, or maybe one of us as staff members that you would like for us to talk about. Yes. Yeah.
So they can literally hone in on you. And if you're one of those people who are constantly, oh, we were here this morning, oh, we were here this morning, and you're just laying on that for someone.
Yes. Let's not be frightened, but let us have a fear of the Lord, which is the beginning of wisdom. Okay? there's a proper emotion here to be expressed. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Lord, how do we proceed from this point forward? I commend you for being here. I think if there's not any other questions, I'd like for a few people, as you feel led by the Spirit, that you would lead us in a time of prayer, consecrating our homes. If you feel led, you just stand right where you are, and you just stand up and pray in the direction that God would have you to pray. We will agree with you, and in a few moments, I will come back and close us in prayer. And then you're welcome to stay here and visit and ask maybe some questions. All the staff will be here, along with Brenda and Stacy, who would be able to talk a little bit about this covenant. We'll be here. Stay around and talk as parents. But let's begin to pray. And Charles, would you just begin us, and then whoever else we would pray.